8:28. Are you there, Wally?
Well, I can quote it, I think.
Okay.
All things work together for good to them that love the Lord,
All
who
right.
are called according to his purpose.
All right. Now, brother, who has it in Greek? Anybody has that in Greek? Brother Randall? No? Anybody got any Greek here? This is real good in Greek now. Brother Wally, you did a good job quoting that. Quote it one more time.
He's all mad.
Romans 8:28. One more
All
time.
things work together for good to them that love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose.
All right. Let's look at that in Greek because it's very important in the lesson we're in today. This is paramount. All right. Romans 8:28. If I can find it in my Bible, I know it's in the New Testament. It was the last time I looked, anyway. All right. Brother Art, you know what that says in Greek? You were in my Greek classes years and years ago. It says, "For we know to the ones loving God, all things are caused to energize together." God causes all things to energize together unto the good. Ace agathon. What's ace? Extension or limitation of thought or verbal action. Okay, that's what it means. For the good. Now you're going to learn the lesson about this today, and you probably have in your life anyway. We're going to see Samson's life today. God is able to cause all things to work for the good of those that are the called. That are the called. To the ones according to the purpose, to the marked off plan. To the plan. All right, for the plan, for his plan. God is able to cause all things that happen to you to work for the good in the end result for his plan with your life. All right, for his plan with your life, to the called, to the ones being called. To the ones being called. You know, ever since that I was saved shortly after my grandmother got killed. I was raised by my grandmother, and she got killed when I was 12 years old. And so pretty much I was an orphan from that time on. I have never lived with my mother, except off and on. I had been around with her, and I was really shook up. My house had just fallen down. And I was going to this little old church, and I got on the conviction, and I went down, and they were having a holy roller service. You know what a holy roller service is? Well, they weren't interested in me, because I wasn't talking in tongues, okay? So I was down there, I went down to the altar, and an old lady that was my step-grandmother, my mother was married to her son at one time, she came down there with me, and she said, "Jimmy, what do you want?" And I said, I think I need to be saved. Preacher didn't go down there. Nobody else went down there with me. She went down there with me, and she led me to the Lord soundly. Because I'm going to tell you something. The Lord saved me that day. Amen. And I have been saved ever since. I might not have known that. But I have been saved ever since. And everything that happens in my life, I can see that somehow God did it for my training. As bad as some of it was. That's just the way it is. All right? We see those things in our lives. Sometimes you might be lucky like Brother Wally over there and was saved when he was a young man and just went down through the straight and narrow all of his life, and that's the way things is. But there have been some rough bumps, haven't there, brother?
Oh, yeah.
There's some bumps in your life. And you see them and you don't know why that happens. Okay? Now let's quote it to me one more time, Brother Wally. Romans 8:28.
For all things work together for good to them that love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose.
All right. God can make everything that happens to us bring about his eternal purpose and his plan. All right? That happens. All right? Now let's go to Judges, the 14th chapter, and maybe you're going to see something here that you haven't seen before. Okay? Now, back in Deuteronomy, you know, we looked back there and we saw the law of the Nazarite. We're going to look at that again. Numbers 6, 1 through 6. Numbers 6, 1 through 6. Who's at Numbers 6, 1 through 6? Numbers 6, 1 through 6. Numbers 6, 1 through 6. We need to keep this in mind, because we're going to look at a guy. Are you over there, Brother Mike? All right.
Again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, When a man or a woman makes a special vow, the vow of a Nazarite, to dedicate himself to the Lord, he shall abstain from wine and strong drink. He shall drink no vinegar, whether made from wine or strong drink. Neither shall he drink any grape juice, nor eat fresh or dried grapes. All the days of his separation he shall not eat anything that is produced by the grapevine, from the seeds even to the skin. All the days of his vow of separation no razor shall pass over his head. He shall be holy until the days are fulfilled for which he separated himself to the Lord. He shall let the locks of hair on his head grow long. All the days of his separation to the Lord he shall not go near to a dead person.
Or a dead thing. All right. A dead person or a dead thing. All right. Anything dead. What happens when something dies? What causes it to die? Disease. And Israel had some very good rules God gave down in the laws of cleanliness. Stay away from anything that's dead. If it dies of itself, stay away from it. And if you go and have to move it and bury it or whatever, what do? Take a bath, wash yourself real good, and wash your clothes, and you're clean for how long? Unclean, that is. You have to stay away from everybody else for about a week. Okay? Make sure nothing goes wrong with you. You're not sick. This is what we call isolation, contamination. All right? All right. Judges, the 14th chapter. Judges chapter 14 and verse number 1. Brother Jim, are you there?
Say it again, please.
Judges 14 and verse 1.
Yes, I'm there.
Okay.
Samson went down to Timnah, and in Timnah he saw one of the daughters of the Philistines.
All right. Now he goes down to Timnah, and he sees one of the daughters of the Philistines. He sees her. All right? He sees this woman. Now, do you think that she was there by accident? No. She wasn't there by accident. Do you think God might have caused this attraction? You better believe it.
Says he did.
That's right. God caused this man to be attracted to this woman for a reason. All right? He caused her to be attracted to this man for a reason. I've heard 1,000 sermons on this, but there's a little bit something wrong with them scripturally. God caused this. All right? Now, it wasn't good, but God caused it. That wasn't the woman for him. Who she did. Now, here is a man that he's a Nazarite. Now, what is he doing? He's taking the place. A Nazarite is basically someone that takes the vow of a Levite. So he acts like a priest. Okay? He's supposed to live and act like a priest. And wherever you see him go, he's got this long flowing locks. His hair is long. So whenever you see this guy, instantly, not even the Levites. I mean, they might have worn some special clothing when they were in service, but this man looked like this every day. Because he had set aside himself, and the Lord said that he is holy. He's holy to him. Okay? He's holy. All right. I saw one of the daughters of the Philistines. Okay, these Philistines. Number 2, Brother Art. Are you there?
Yeah. We came back. I told his father and mother, I saw a woman in Timnah, one of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore, get her for me as my wife.
Oh boy. Get her for me as my wife. I bet they were surprised. Weren't they? Now, that's just going like out and going down on Skid Row, some Christian boy, and saying, I think I'll have that woman right over there, prostitute standing on the corner. That's the way it is. This is what the story was. All right? Now they're upset. Brother Wally, would you be upset?
Oh, sure.
All right. How about number 3 there? Can you read number 3 for me?
And his father and his mother said unto him, Is there no woman among the daughters of the brethren, or among all of my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleases me well.
All right, she looks good. She's a good looker. She looks good. Now, God had caused this woman to be, him to be attracted to her. Now, there's a reason for it. He walks through there, he's going down to this area, and he sees this woman. You staying with this, Bill?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I know where the trouble's at.
All right, you know where the trouble is. I knew you did.
The trouble was coming.
All right. Dr. John, where are there? There you are. Okay. Let's look at number 4.
But his father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord, that he was seeking an occasion to move against the Philistines. For at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
All right. Now, there's that verse. Mark it out. Put a star, asterisk by it, big, high, something marks around there. Highlight it, Brother Bill. Okay? That's the most important verse in this whole chapter right there.
Yeah, I understand that verse, but the Lord says somewhere in James that the Lord does not tempt. You remember that verse?
The Lord tempts no man.
Yeah.
But there was a reason for this.
Well,
Yeah.
there's, you know, you can see maybe
Well,
there's some consistency.
Galatians 6, 7 through 9.
Yeah.
2 Corinthians 6, 14 through 18, Proverbs 6, 20 through 26. I can give you a whole line of verses just through the whole Bible that tells you to be separate. Don't go out there in the world looking for a wife or a mate. You're going to have nothing but trouble. If you're asking for trouble, your mouth will be calling for blows. That's all I can say to you. But God is using this situation here. This is a bad situation, but God put this in His book, didn't He? We can learn from this. There's a whole lot of learning right here. Okay? A lot of learning. Now, these Canaanites in this land, what kind of people were they? What kind of people were the Canaanites?
Lowlanders?
Huh?
The lowlanders?
Yeah, the lowlanders. That's what it means, lowland. Yeah, the lowlanders. Canaan means the Canaanites were lowlanders. All along that whole area through there, along the Mediterranean, this is the whole area where the Canaanites lived. I'm glad that you brought that out. That means lowlanders, the low people. And the commentaries, the rabbis say, these were people that lived in the lowland and they were low lives. Low lives that lived in the lowlands. All right? These lowlanders out there now, they worshipped other gods. They were sexually impure. Their word was no good. Everything that you can think about the human race that is bad, these people were. Now, these people were cursed by God all the way back in the days of Noah. Look back over here in the days of Noah. Right out here, when God set it up, they've been cursed ever since.
Yeah,
Okay?
Right.
Cursed ever since. When Ham, Noah's son, did some horrible thing to him, God cursed Canaan, his son, not Ham, the son of Ham. All right, Canaan. And he said that they would be a servant to all the others. In other words, and what the whole story was, that they're going to go into the land, they're going to build up farms and everything in there, and that Israel is going to inherit all of this because these people aren't worthy to live in God's land. They are not worthy to live in God's land. So here all these people are. They're in the land of Canaan now. These are the Canaanites. Okay? Now, we're going to find out what kind of people they are. That's what the story is. All right? Number 5. The Philistines were ruling over. Number 5 now, Brother Brett, have you got a Bible open?
I'll get
No, Randall.
Then Samson went down to Timnah with his father and mother, and came as far as the vineyards of Timnah, and behold, a young lion came roaring towards him.
All right, here came out a young lion. This young lion, probably a young male lion, okay, comes roaring out there at him, and What do you think happened? A lion's a pretty well equipped animal. I picked up one of the cats the other day, and I mean, he got me. This is just a cat. I picked him up and I set him up on this thing. I had some food up there for him, and I had something else in my hand, and it rattled and scared him, and boy, he took off and he just hit me with one foot, and he cut me. Zip, just like that, with one claw, zip. Now, a lion has got all kinds of tools to work it over with. He has great, big, long teeth. The mouth of a lion is extremely powerful. And his claws are like daggers, sharp daggers, slicing. Now, this is what came after. He came after Samson. Now, let's talk about the name Samson for just a minute. Do you remember last week when I told you about Samson? Most of the commentaries say it is what? Most of the commentaries say that his name means what?
Destruction.
Well, that's from the Hebrew. They say his name means like the sun, or sunlight. Okay? Most of the commentaries say that. But his name, the rabbis say that his name comes from the word Shad. Shaddai. And we know God as El Shaddai. What does El Shaddai mean?
The nourishing one? Or?
The all-powerful one. All right? The Almighty. Okay? So here, his name comes from that same name. This is what the rabbis say. Now here comes a lion. He come roaring toward him. All right? Come roaring toward him. Number 6. Number 6. Randall, are you over there?
The Spirit of the Lord came upon him.
All right, now let's look at that for a minute, just a little bit. Anybody got Hebrew there? Huh? Anybody got a Hebrew? Nobody has a Hebrew Bible around here. All right. You don't have one? All right. And now, if we had Brother Luis here, he would have that Sacred Name Bible. He'd tell us what this is. It says there, the Ruah of Jehovah. Ruah of Jehovah. Ruah means Spirit of Jehovah. Jehovah came upon him. Now, in John 1:14 it says, and the Word, Jehovah, became flesh and dwelt among us. Now, in the book of Revelation, we have the word there coming back as the great warrior El Shaddai. All right? And he's the one that brings the whole world into order right over here and brings in the millennium. Okay? This is the great warrior, our great God and warrior. Now, the warrior God, the Spirit of Jehovah, came upon Samson. Now, how many of you have an idea what Samson looked like? I want some of your opinions. What do you think he looked like?
Like me,
Do you think he looked like
A little bit more hair.
Danny DeVito type person?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. About 4'10", weighed 300 pounds or something. Okay.
He was
What
like-
do you think about?
He
what
was
do you
like
think,
Arnold back in
Fred?
the
Huh?
early. He was like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the early 80s.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But with long hair.
Okay. Brother Wally, what do you think?
Well, I think he's just an ordinary man. Just looked like everybody else.
You know what? I think you're right. Now, he could have been 8 foot tall. He could have been like an
He's a
apple.
gorilla, man. Come on.
He could have been like a gorilla. He could have been. What do you think, Brother Jim?
Well, he was unusual because he was a Nazarite.
Well, he was a Nazarite, yes.
You know that, but there's nothing in the scriptures indicating that he was more muscular or anything than anyone else. And it always says it's when the Spirit rushed on him.
Yes,
That
the Spirit of
there was a
Jehovah.
difference in him.
All right. So now, maybe he wasn't as tall as this ceiling. Maybe he was like Danny DeVito. Okay? Maybe he was like that. Now, wouldn't that be a real shocker?
He was a midget, yeah.
If he was a little bitty guy?
Like Yoda.
Yeah, like
A little bitty guy. What if he was small? What if he was just average? Okay. Now let's look at some.
I guess it doesn't matter.
Some
Really.
people say to what did Jesus look like? He looked like an ordinary Jew.
That's right. Jesus looked like an ordinary.
But in order to turn that terminal, he had to be pretty big. You know what I mean? We had to turn the whole terminal at the end and grind flour mill. He had to be pretty big to turn that. I mean,
Women usually did
and they
that.
used horses to do that, and he did it. You mean?
You already said women.
They had donkey, horses, or women.
But like a group of women, though, right?
Well,
10 or 12.
or one or two or whatever. Anyway, whatever Samson looked like, it doesn't really matter. But when the Spirit of Jehovah came upon him, he was mighty because El Shaddai was there. All right? And his name comes from that root, see? All right, let's look on here a little bit further. This lion came roaring at him, and then it says, who was reading that?
The Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, so that he tore him as one tears a young goat, though he had nothing in his hand. But he did not tell his father or mother what he had done.
All right. Now, Brother Rex.
I want to know what they said, since he went down to Timnah with his mother and father, and they didn't see him kill that
Okay,
lion.
they stayed there as far as the vineyard. Now, Samson went on by himself. All right, he left them there by the vineyard, and he goes on down the road by himself, okay? And out comes this roaring lion. Now, you have to remember, this is an African-type lion. This is an African-type lion. These lions are powerful and they're big. I run onto a lion up here up in the Greenhorn Mountains one time. I used to do a lot of lion hunting. Matter of fact, I tagged the last lion in the state of California that was ever killed in this state. The last 15 minutes of the last day of the last hour that before they stopped hunting lions, I tagged the last lion in the state of California. Lions are powerful. All right. Now,
We always call them mountain lions.
mountain lions, cougars, pumas, panthers. You know, they have all kinds of names for these
Did
things.
you
But
keep the hide?
what?
Did you keep the hide of it?
No, I didn't keep the hide.
He sold the pelt,
No.
I'm
Any-
sorry.
Anyway, we were going up. My wife knows where this happened. I've shown her when I was going up Rattlesnake Grade up there, up Rancheria Road. We came over there, and this lion ran. We saw this lion dart down the road, right across the road by us, and it was a big lion. It was about 11 foot long, weighed over 200 pounds. This is a big, big lion, big Tom. This lion had been killing a lot of cattle, and he was after a calf right then. And we turned the dogs loose on him. And I had a young dog called Sooner. Sooner was, he had no fear. Icamilio, like my great-great-great-great-grandfather's name was. His Indian name was Icamilio. Fearless. That dog was fearless. Well, I went over there, but I had a little Colt Lightning stuck in my belt. The Colt Lightning is a 38 long Colt. That's what it was. And I had some, what they call target loads. What I was doing is just shooting the coons, and it would hit them and just stun them enough to where they'd jump out the tree and we'd go chase them again. That's what I had with me that night. Had it stuck in my belt, so we turned loose on this lion, not thinking. And my dogs run over there and treat him on top of some rocks, and I was right down below there. What I was doing over there, I have no idea. I went over there with this almost gunless. I guess I was going to put it right in his eyeball and shoot him or something. But all the dogs went after him. They treat him on these rocks. And my dog up there, Fearless, Sooner, he chases the lion right off on top of me. He's up here on these rocks, and I'm right down below on this trail, and he jumps right out there, and here he comes right down on, of course, this is in the middle of the night, you know. And that lion comes by and just bumps me like this and hits the ground and runs right in front of me like this. He didn't pay any attention to me at all. I was no threat to him. Big things. Now, Brother Jim.
Up Fraser Park, there's a place called Gentle Jungle where they train exotic animals for the movies. And our daughter worked there, and we had a chance to take a lion home with us, you know, regular lion cub. And that was interesting all by itself. But of all the animals they had there, they had lions, tigers, they had wolves, which you certainly would respect even behind that cage.
Yeah.
But the cougar you were talking about was the most fearless of all of them, or fearful of all of them, because they would watch you all the time, and they would reach out their paw underneath the fence, snag you. They could reach out about 6 foot and pull you in.
Yeah. And you
They
can't
were
get loose.
really
Those
soft.
claws are like meat hooks, boy.
Oh yeah.
That's what they are. Okay. Now, anyway, I lost that lion that day, but we got him later. I got a picture of him. His head was this wide. Now, he's as big as an African lion, is what I wanted to tell you. This lion was as big as an African lion. African female. Big. Gigantic jaws, gigantic feet. Now, this is what came after Samson. All right, a powerful, powerful lion. And it's a young lion. It's not some old, feeble lion. This is a young lion. All right? And then Samson just tore it up. Just ripped it apart. He killed it. I remember we had those dogs out there on the ranch here a while back, and they got in the yard that they were killer dogs. They killed over 50 animals out there in the country. And one of them was out there killing my duck. And I ran in the house and shot it. We went down later on to kill the other ones, and Dakota says, I will break their jaws. She said, you let me out. She was mad. Her tears were flowing down her, and she was mad. She was going to go down and break these dogs' jaws, boy. She was going to do it with her hands. Well, she's not quite a Samson. I went down and took care of the problem. But this giant, this lion, this young, powerful, barrel lion, Samson probably breaks his jaws. And what he does with his feet while he's doing that, I don't know. Because I mean to tell you what, when you got a hold of a lion, you got a hold of all of him at once. You got 4 feet and a mouth. And like I've said before, even a tongue of a lion can rip your flesh off. Because his tongue is like thorns on the back of it. Thorns. All right? So now this is what Samson took care of here. All right? Number 7, Wally.
And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well.
All right. He went down and he talked to the woman, and she kept on looking good. That's what it says in Hebrew. She kept on looking good to him.
Maybe that's what they got good looking at.
She kept on looking good to him. All right. She didn't, he was attracted to her. All right. Number 8, Brother Brett. Number 8. I see you're borrowing my wife's Bible.
Are you on 16 and 8?
Yeah, number 14 and that ends 8.
14. Okay. When he returned later to take her, he turned aside to look at the carcass of the lion. And behold, a swarm of bees and honey were in the body of the lion.
All right, now here we have, Samson goes back there and he sees this lion. Now, what did it say over there? And I corrected it just a little bit. I corrected the text and thing. Now, a Nazarite, is he supposed to go near anything that's dead? A person or a thing that's dead? Because dead people and dead things are unclean. Is he supposed to go near them?
No.
No. You're not supposed to go near them. Was any average Israelite supposed to go over there and go near a dead carcass of any animal?
No.
No, that's in the law. It says don't do that. All right? That seems like now that it looks like Samson's breaking all the rules, doesn't it? It looks like he's breaking all of his vows. All right? Brother Rex. Number 9.
So he scraped the honey into his hands and went on eating as he went. When he came to his father and mother, he gave some to them, and they ate it, but he did not tell them that he had scraped the honey out of the body of a lion.
I wonder why he didn't tell them.
They probably wouldn't have ate it.
Huh?
They probably wouldn't have ate
It
it.
was unclean.
It was unclean. The honey was unclean. Because it had come out of the body of this lion. It was unclean. Now, how long this was, we don't know. They say that a carcass out there in this very humid, hot area will dry out and just dehydrate and turn into a mummy and nothing flat. But in the carcass of this animal, evidently he had just ripped this thing's guts. I mean, this is hard language, but he just ripped it apart. He just disemboweled this lion and broke his jaws and totally just ripped him up.
Probably the vultures kind of cleaned him up, too.
Yeah, the vultures kind of cleaned him out, but here come the bees now. Now, everything in this lion was unclean because it's a dead carcass. It is a lion. Can you eat lions? I mean, I have eaten a lion. I ate some lion before. It doesn't taste very good. Just don't even think about eating lion because it's not good. The Chinese people, they say, like to eat lions. They like cats and stuff. By the way, that's where the SARS virus, because they ate cats. That's where the virus came in, because they were eating these cats. Okay? All right, Brother Mike.
I was reading this mountain man book one time, and it said that the Indians preferred mountain lion meat was the best tasting meat, and mule meat also.
I don't like lion meat. Of course, I ate that big old Tom lion.
I ate some bobcat meat one time.
Yeah, well.
Preparation.
Preparation. I don't know that you could have prepared that lion, that big Tom, that great big one. I don't know that you could make that thing taste good. Boy, he tastes like an old tomcat. All right. Now, this honey, this animal was unclean. You couldn't eat a lion anyway. All right, that was an animal that was unclean. It was not kosher. Okay? Now, here we have honey, bees. Now, they could eat honey. All right? But you couldn't eat it out of a dead carcass of an unclean animal. All right? Now, what Samson did here now, he's a rascal in a lot of ways. Did you know that? He is a rascal in a lot of ways. He is God's man, but he's a rascal. He causes his mother and father to sin unknowingly. They would have had to go and offer a offering for a sin of ignorance. All right, for a sin of ignorance. Not only that, but the honey. Now we know that honey is an antibiotic, so-called. But Dr. John, do you know what green mountain salve is?
No.
People used to use that a long time ago. This was something the doctors made up years ago. But actually it came from the Indians. The Indians would take honey, and they would take pine, they would take thyme sap, and they would take wax and mix it together. How many of you ever seen the movie Lonesome Dove?
Oh, yeah.
All right, when the old horse bit that old boy, they went in there, and sitting on that stove was Green Mountain salve. Now I knew this. So, all right, he goes over there and he gets this and he puts this salve on him, and what it is honey and pine sap and wax mixed together, and that is an antibiotic. But no matter how good this honey was contaminated by the dead carcass of this animal. Okay? And then he gives it to his mom and dad, and he let them eat it, and they did not tell them that he had scraped it out of the body of the lion. Number 10. Number 10. Now he's going to use this, Brother Brett.
Then his father went down to the woman, and Samson made a feast there, for the young men customarily did this.
All right. Now, here we go. Samson is in a foreign land among foreigners. He goes down there in a foreign land among foreigners. Now, what is this feast? What do you think this feast is? We're going to have one right over here. We're going to have a 7-year-long feast right here.
Wedding feast.
That's a wedding feast. What they do is they go there and they stand up in front of everybody. They have a dance. They have a great big feast and everything. And the man and the woman get up there. They're standing up in front of everybody. And everybody's cheering. And they go off into the bridal chamber. That's what they do. And so they're in there. Oh, everybody's feasting and everything. They eat and they go off in the bridal chamber and become man and wife. That's what they do. And so that's what's going on here. There is a wedding feast, and this wedding feast lasts for a week. All right? This is what we call an Oriental wedding feast that lasts for 1 week. Now over here in the tribulation period is how long?
7 years.
7 years. All right? And the Lord, I believe, raptures his bride just before that tribulation period, and she's up there on her honeymoon with the Lord all the time this terrible thing's happening down on the earth. Don't you want to go with the Lord before all this takes place? Well, this is a wedding feast here now. All right? And then verse number, where do we end up? 11? 11. All right. Brother Floyd, number 11.
And when the people saw him, they brought 30 companions to be with him.
All right. Now they take 30 companions. These are the what we call the best men. There's only one best man, but these are this is the what?
The groomsmen.
This is the groomsmen right here. These are the groomsmen, and these are foreigners too, by the way. These aren't good guys. These are enemies. Enemies of Israel. And these are the best men of the wedding. There's only one best man, but there's...
Is that a good song, Delilah?
These are Philistines.
Okay.
Okay, these are Philistines. Now, he doesn't have any companions down there to go with him, so he gets companions from among her family, her kind of people. And these are Philistines. And what kind of people are the Philistines? We talked about that just a little bit. What kind are they, Brother Brett?
Evil people.
The
lowlands.
rabbis say they dwell in the lowlands and they're low lives. They're low life people dwelling in the lowland, okay? That's what kind of people they are. And number 12, Brother David. Number 12.
I gotta find it. Then Samson said to them, "Let me now propound a riddle to you. If you will indeed tell it to me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 linen wraps and 30 changes of clothes."
Not only is he this character, he's breaking all of his vows, but he's a gambler on top of all the rest of it.
He's a shrewd dealer.
He's a Doc Holliday. All right. Now he's going to bet that they're going to. He said, "You give me 30 changes of clothes." Now, what kind of clothes he want? He said they had linen underwear, which was real soft and real good. They had their undergarments, and then they had. What he said, "I want you to get me some real fancy looking duds. I'm going to give you some good underwear and some good duds to put over the underwear." That's what he told them. All right? He said, "I'm going to give you 30 changes of clothes." And he said, in number 14, is it 13?
13.
Okay, number 13. Go ahead there, David.
"But if you are unable to tell me, then you shall give me 30 linen wraps and 30 changes of clothes." And they said to him, propound your riddle, that we may hear it.
All right, number 14, Brother Wally.
And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth food, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle.
Okay, now let's go on to the rest of the story here now. Brother 15, Art. Number
It came
15.
about on the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, "Entice your husband that he may tell us the riddle, and we will burn you and your father's house with your father. You have invited us to
Impoverish us.
impoverish us."
Now this is the kind of people they are. All right? You've invited us to impoverish us. Is this not so? Now, first of all, Samson's been sleeping with his wife for several days. Okay? She is his wife. I want you to understand they've come together as man and woman. Now, after 3 days, they couldn't do this, and on the 4th day they said to Samson's wife, "You entice your husband." The word entice there, what do you think that word might mean?
Manipulate.
Twist his arm, finagle him. Women, have you ever done that to your husband?
Never.
Never. You've never done that. Joanne, have you ever done that?
No need to.
You don't know?
Not gonna work anyway.
She just works her wily ways on me.
Yeah, well, that's the wily ways. That's what we're talking about. The wily ways.
They even tried.
They what?
They can't drive.
That's right. And she was doing all of them.
They don't play fair.
They don't play fair, huh? Lest we burn. We're going to burn you in your house. Burn you down in your house. I told the guy one time, you know, when I was living over in East Bakersfield, the gang started coming in on me, and I tell you what, I didn't get along with that gang business. I called the sheriff out, they didn't work, so I did. I went after them. One of them came over there, a drug dealer, and beat my next door neighbor up, an elderly woman, about 70-something years old, and I love that woman like my mother. And I went over there, and she was all beat up, her mouth was busted up, her eyes were black, and he had robbed her. And I said, "Who did this to you?" She told me. I was off on my lunch hour. I came home, you know, and I went over there. And I went over to he lived in this trailer over there, and he was a drug dealer and a thug. I went over and I tried to get into the trailer. He said, "What are you doing out there?" I said, "Come out here, I'm going to stomp you on the ground." You know, like this. I said, "You whoop over a woman." I said, let's see you whoop on a man now. Like this. You come out here. And I pulled his door handle off, tore it up. It was locked. I tore the door handle off, and his wife or his girlfriend came over there. "Oh, don't kill him like this. Don't kill him like that." And I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, "I'm going to work right now, but when I come home, I'm going to take gasoline. I'm going to set this place on fire, and when you come out the door, I'm going to shoot you."
That's pretty good.
I was mad.
The tight
Well,
plan.
the laws weren't doing anything. I learned real quick. You know what? When I got home from work, he was gone, and I never saw him no more. And my next door neighbor was safe. So now that was pretty violent. You know, I think I got that from Sam Paul or something. I don't know where it came from. But it worked, regardless. All right? Anyway,
Pretty good.
we're going to burn your house down. And we're going to lock you in the house, and we're going to set it on fire and burn you up. These are not nice people, are they? All right. And then number 16. Brother Wally, you get to read this one.
Okay. And Samson's wife wept before him and said, "Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not."
All right.
No.
And yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. "Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it to me." And he said unto her, "Behold, I have not told it to my father or my mother, and I shall tell it to thee."
All right. Samson's wife kept on crying before him. She just kept it up. She just kept on bawling, squirting tears, boy. I mean, squirting tears. And then she said, now, here they are in their wedding chamber. They're in bed together. This is where they are. All right? And she's squirting tears out there, just a bawling and going on. And she says, "You hate me. You won't tell me about this riddle." Now, why was she trying to do this? She was afraid. This girl was afraid. Because these were violent companions. That her people were violent companions. Number 17 now, Brother Brett.
However, she wept before him 7 days while their feet
How long?
7.
7 days she kept on bawling.
And on the 7th day,
7 years of tribulation, all right. It can seem like 7 years of tribulation. All right.
and on the 7th day he told her because she pressed him so hard. She then told the riddle to the sons of her people.
This is on his honeymoon now. I'm telling you, this is his honeymoon. This is a wedding feast. And his life is miserable. All right? He was reaping and sowing, wasn't he? He married this woman. All right, number 18. Alfredo, are you there? Can you read number 18 for me?
And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, "What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion?" And he said unto them, "If ye have not plowed with my heifer, ye have not found out my riddle."
All right. He accused them of having adultery, of committing adultery with his wife. All right? He's mad now. Now, is the story working out? Is God's plan working out now? Even though the situation, what's going on here? We're going to find out in the next verse, number 19, Brother Bill. Where's your wife? Go ahead.
She's probably planning, conniving.
He sent her out.
You think she's planning? Scheming, huh? All right, number 19.
If you not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle.
All right, number 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Spirit of the Lord came upon him.
All right, the Spirit, the Ruah of Jehovah. All
And
right.
he went down to Ashkelon and killed 30 of their men, took their apparel and gave the changes of clothing to those who had explained the riddle. So his anger was aroused, and he went back up to his father's house.
All right, now his honeymoon was over. The honeymoon is over. Now he thought that he accused them of committing adultery with his wife. All right? And this was all excuse that he needed to go down there and kill these 30 men. All right? Because these people are rats.
He
All
made
right?
him a serial killer.
Huh?
He made him a serial killer.
Yeah, he was a serial killer now. Number 20.
Jim, one quick question.
Number 20. All right?
He broke his Nazarite vow when he killed him because he was by a dead person at that point.
Really. He did all. Now he's going to do a lot of stuff. He's going to break every vow. Okay, he's going to break every vow. Number 20, Brother Jim.
And Samson's wife was given to his companion who had been his best man.
That's right.
That's a happy ending.
Boy, what a deal. His father-in-law gave his wife to his best man at the wedding as his wife. Now, for sure, they plowed with his heifer now. For sure, they committed adultery now. All right, we're going to come back next week and we're going to get the rest of the story, all right? The rest of the story. Well, right now, this is not turning out too good for Samson, is it? But the Lord's purpose is at hand, all right? The Lord's purpose is being brought about. God wanted to have an excuse to bring Israel out of the clutches of these people. All right, Brother David, it's turned over to you. Thank you for your seats and your kind attention today.
Okay, on some of the announcements we've got here, there's a finance.
Those classes that I taught, that I listened to back then, and I learned. Because the time element has passed. Now I can put one more foot in front of me. But walking is what? Just falling and catching yourself.
Yeah.
You lean forward and you fall and you catch yourself. That's what walking is. Well, that's not like what we're learning. Before you can take the next step, you've got to have some kind of foundation on here. You've got to take the first step. Until you understand something, you can't. When I taught in this church 3 times the doctrines of the Bible. I was so tired of teaching that class. But every time they said, please teach it one more time. Now I've got other people teaching it. Brother John Gage has taught it. Art Cherez has taught it. Don Lady taught some of it. There's been quite a few people that taught the doctrines of the Bible. And I think even John Shirley's teaching something like that now. But you've got to have a foundation. Before I would let my teachers teach when I was pastoring, I took them for 1 year and took them to my new converse class, which was my Doctrines of the Bible class. Because when you go into a classroom and when you start teaching, you've got to have answers for people. And first of all, you don't want to put a teacher in a position and he's been in there for 6 months or a year and he takes off with the Seventh-day Adventists or the Jehovah's Witnesses. You've got to have a foundation under them. They've got to know what they're teaching. The first law of teaching is to know the subject. So before you can start teaching, you've got to have some foundation. And he says, we need to have confidence and not be eiskethomen, not be ashamed, caused to blush. Caused to blush. We might be caused to blush if we don't know the basics from Him, in the presence of Him. We might blush when the Lord appears. We might blush when the Lord appears. Be ashamed. A lot of people don't blush anymore.
No shame.
A lot of people don't blush anymore.
There's no such thing.
Because they're hardened. They're hardened.
No sin.
They're so entrenched in sin and their ways that they don't blush. And if they hear the Word of God, I've seen people run out of church. The preacher has offended me. They say that all the time. That happens all the time. Constantly. But what offended them? It's not the preacher. What is it?
God's Word.
God's Word offends them. And they don't like it. So they go and they want to go someplace where they're not offended.
Like Mormons.
Whatever. Whatever. Wherever you go, you can go someplace and where they don't preach anything, where they don't teach anything.
They got
They just,
teaching years.
yeah,
They go to teachers expression.
yeah.
Is the word parousia a derivative of parousia?
It comes from para
Para?
and usia. All right? Para, usia, beside being is what it literally means. His presence. And what it's talking about is the advent of the Lord when He comes back for His people. Now, if you were out doing something wrong and the Lord come back, how would you feel? Ashamed. You would be blushing.
I feel lucky they took me.
Well, just think about that for a while. That's what it's talking about here. That's the subject. Would you be ashamed? Yeah. What are we supposed to be doing?
Walking with him already.
Walking with him. Walking down, as the Indian said, he fell off the red road. They had a standard for all of their young men were supposed to walk, and it's called the red road. He was supposed to be honest. He was supposed to tell the truth. He was supposed to provide. He was supposed to be an individual of impeccable word. If he didn't have that, they'd say he fell off the red road. And if he fell off the red road enough times, they'd tell him to go take a hike and just live by yourself out there in the woods. Because you're not worthy to live among us. You're not civilized enough to live in this tribe. You know what? Are there people in God's churches like that?
Oh, yeah.
There are people in God's churches like this. And we shouldn't be like that, should we? Our tendency in the flesh is to what?
Please flesh.
Please the flesh. Do what we feel, do what feels good.
And looks good and smells good and tastes good and all the senses.
Yeah. And that's what happened in the garden, wasn't it?
Yep.
That's what happened in the garden.
That's it.
Now, Luke 17:30, Colossians 3 and 4, Ephesians 3:12, it all talks about this subject. This is not something off the wall that John just pulled down and talking about. Mark 8 and 38, 1 Thessalonians 2:19. Somebody turn to 1 Thessalonians 2:19 real quick. And that's where I'm going to end up tonight. I'm going to
1 Thessalonians
2:19. 1 Thessalonians 2:19, if somebody's got that.
I've got it here.
All right, Brother Wally.
2:19. Okay. For what is our hope, or joy, or crown of rejoicing? Are not even ye in the presence of our Lord Jesus Christ at his coming?
All right. Our hope and our joy should be looking forward to. Brother Hubbard used to say, to stand on tiptoes with your neck outstretched, with your ears wide open, looking for the call of God.
And hope to stand side by side with him. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Of course,
That stand side by side with him.
What you get though when you start talking about that, they talked about that ever since I was a kid.
Yep.
And your anticipation is. They
Always say that. And isn't that what the Word of God says? That they will talk like that? They'll say, they've been saying this for hundreds of years. For how long did Noah preach? 120 years.